there are a few different types of welding. I will be showing you the basics of MIG welding. MIG stands for metal inert gas, and it's a very popular form of welding. It's probably the most widely used form of welding because it's relatively fast, versatile, and pretty easy. The first thing that I'll go over is safety. Before you start, you need to make sure that you have the proper protective equipment. So this means gloves, like these ones, and a long sleeve shirt, and make sure that it's buttoned all the way to the top. For welding, the preferred material that you should wear is leather, but denim like this will do just as long as you're not wearing any synthetic material because they can catch fire or melt. You'll also need proper safety glasses and a welding shield. Mine is auto darkening, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. It's just a lot easier and more convenient, and it works for not just welding but things like grinding and cutting. Ideally, you should also be wearing steel-toed work boots like these that are CSA approved. And then lastly, you should make sure that your hair is tied back and you're not wearing any hanging jewelry. Okay, so you can start by switching the machine on using the on switch and by turning on the gas. So take your gun and squeeze the trigger and make sure that the ball stays at around 25 CFH. Okay, so there's two knobs on your machine that you need to be concerned with. The first one is the amperage, down here, and the second is wire speed. The amperage knob controls how much power you'll get. So more amperage is required for thicker material and less for thinner. Wire speed is directly related to this. So the more power you have, the more wire you'll need. For the material that I'm using, which is about 1/8 of an inch thick, both of the knobs should be set somewhere in the middle at around 7 or so, but fine adjustments can be made from here. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to do a basic T-weld. And the first thing that you need to do is attach your ground wire to your material. And then you need to make sure that the line to your gun is straight, or else the wire running through it will jam up. Sometimes when you're welding heavier material, a lot of sparks fly around. I like to wear a cap to protect my head. Because I want my piece to be at a 90-degree angle, it's helpful to use a magnet like this to hold your piece in place before you begin. So I'll start by making a tack or a spot weld on either side of my material because as a weld cools, it starts to pull. And your tack should be small because later you're going to be running over them with your bead. Okay, so here you can see me creating my bead, attaching the vertical piece of material to the bottom plate. There's a couple of things that you need to keep in mind as you're welding. The first thing is that you need to make sure you're always pushing your gun and not pulling it so that you're pushing the gas into the weld. Also, you need to make sure that you maintain a consistent speed and distance from your material. So this is what your bead should look like. 50% of it should be on the vertical piece and 50% should be on the bottom. A helpful way to build up your bead on a T-weld like this is to move your gun in small circles as you go along, or pretend that you're writing a bunch of cursive U's, as you can kind of see I'm doing here. So this is essentially what your weld should look like when you're all finished. Okay, so that's about it. Now you can turn off your machine, unplug your ground wire and wrap it and your hose up on your machine, and you can turn off your gas.